Hey guys, what's up and welcome to Love Inspiry Space on the Internet. I was reading on Instagram a quote that said marriages don't last more than 3 to 4 business days. I laughed, but it's true for multiple reasons that we are about to discuss in this podcast. Stick around and let's talk love. Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to another podcast episode where we are going to be talking about why people don't strive for marriage anymore within their relationships in general as a whole. So for those who don't know, my name is Angie. I'm the founder of Love Inspiry, where our mission is to build more powerful, transparent, and durable relationships. And I'm obviously here with my co-host, my husband,
Big Nate,
in the building, y'all. We are back and ready to podcast and talk everything relationships and love. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe for all relationship talk. We teach on the channel, give opinions from a professional and experience standpoint. If you are listening on the podcast, make sure you download the episode, leave us a review. We would so much appreciate that. So thank you guys all for tuning in, and let's get the show started. So as I told you guys, I was this was inspired by a quote I saw, or not a quote, a comment in the shade room, and it said something like marriages don't last more than 3 to 5 business days this year.
Wow, that's sad.
You know what? I laughed, but it is very much sad that
I believe it.
That people think this way. And I think, you know, when I read it, the first thing that popped up into my head is how lazy people are within their relationships. Like, people, especially our generation, like, people don't want to work for something. If you really think about how many people start something and then they quit it because it got hard, or because they hit a rough patch, or because it was a setback, or it was a little failure, like, and that's how people treat their relationships. That's how people treat their marriages. So I think that's something that we as a community as a whole need to work on, is understanding that we aren't so special that we're not going to have a setback. You're going to have to work and put some effort into your relationship. Right.
And I think as far as people being lazy, it's one of the things that you have to really want. Right. When you really want something, you're willing to make that extra effort to achieve it. It's like when you want to make like changes to your body or to your health, you make the time to go to the gym. Right. And even when you're not seeing the progress that you want to see at first, you hang in there because you know you're trying to get towards that goal. Right. If you have like a possession that you want, maybe a car or some clothes or shoes or a bag or something, you may work overtime. You may pick up a second job. You know, you make that extra effort.
Nothing is overnight.
Exactly. Yeah. And a relationship should be the same way. Right. You make that extra effort even in the midst of setbacks and all the other things that you're going to encounter in a relationship. But if you're willing to do it, if you're willing to stick it out, you'll find that peace. Yeah. Anything you want in life, I feel like, is worth fighting for. You know, nothing is going to happen, like I just said, overnight. Nothing is going to just come easy to you. And if it is easy, you probably don't even really want it. Right. Just to be frank. Right. Yeah. And I think the quality of men and women have changed so much that people are just like, and I refuse to be tied down to somebody. Like, people don't want to take that chance. Yeah. You know, and getting married to somebody and just being unhappy. Right. Just to say, oh, I is married now. You know what I mean? So it's not like it used to be. You know, where people just really just wanted to be married. Right. And they were willing to endure anything just to have that title of wife and just to have that title of husband. Right. Now people just refuse to live a life of misery. But you know what? I feel like that's something that parents can work on. Right. And I feel like this stems from, you know, the kids not being taught. Right. That, you know, I feel like quality people are not existent or non-existent now because they're not being taught quality characteristics. They're not being taught how to be a positive partner, how to support and encourage one another. And that's, you know, I was just on a podcast or a Blog Talk Radio where He Said What Radio, shout out to them, great people over there.
and we were just talking about the stigma placed on Black people and women as a whole, and we started talking about, or some of the guests were talking about that was on the panel, was referring to how they're locking these Black men up, and then they're leaving these women to raise single kids. And it's the same concept. Like, a woman can only teach a little boy how to be a man.
Right.
It can only go so far because she's not a man.
Right.
She may be able to teach him how to treat a woman, but she can't really teach him how to be a man. And it's the same thing. Like, I truly feel like if we want to see better relationships, it starts at home and what we're building, making sure that we're building quality characteristics within the kids.
Right. So many people don't have that example. They don't know what to look for.
Right.
They don't know what a solid marriage looks like because they didn't see that growing up. So if they don't know the benefits of having one, how can you expect them to enter into one?
Right, exactly, and that's what happens. And then also people go into it with the idea that it won't last. Right. I really truly understood in coaching and stuff and talking to single women and talking to married women that people literally go into relationships with the mindset that this won't last, or this is such and such is going to happen, or this is not going to work out. And you have to, I just posted on social media at the time that I'm filming this about how you have to speak life into your relationship. You have to, nobody is going to be an advocate for Angie and Nate like Angie and Nate are. You can be rooting for us, you can be doing this, but you are not going to ride for us like us. And it's the same thing that happens in the relationships out there.
Right.
You have to be an advocate for your relationship. So you have to go, so you have to go into it with the idea that, hey, I'm going to put my best foot forward to make this relationship work, period.
One thing I always tell people, don't take advice from bitter people. You know, take advice from people that are successful in the area that you're trying to be successful at. I'm not going to take advice about marriage from somebody that's been in 4 marriages. Because they're not going to have any good, positive things to tell me. I mean, they can tell me what not to do, you know what I mean, where they messed up at, but they can't really encourage me to hang on and stay in the fight because you got out of the fight 4 times. So seek knowledge and try to get understanding from people that are in successful marriages. They had trials and tribulations and they worked through them. They fixed the problems that came up and they endured. Even if you don't have like, because you know a lot of people do come from broken homes. You know, I grew up, you know, my parents weren't together, but I'm sure there's somebody in your family that has a meaningful relationship, a relationship that is inspirational, a relationship that you can model, not necessarily copy, but model. Somebody out there is going to have that relationship. Hook on to those people and really, you know, that'd be my advice for that. Hook on to those people and really truly watch what they're doing and how they're moving within their relationship. And I think today's generation really doesn't like the idea of being tied down to one person for the rest of their life.
I agree with that.
And if you can't handle that, I always say it. I mean, that's a good way to live. If you know you can't be faithful, or you know it's going to be difficult for you to be faithful to one person for the rest of your life, then do not enter into this. Because this is to death do you part. This is through sickness and in health. This is for richer or for poor. For the rest of your life.
You know what? It's funny that you brought that up because I don't have a problem with people that don't want to get married or know that they can't be monogamous within their relationship. They want multiple partners and stuff like that. If you know that you can't be with multiple people or with one person, cool, that's fine. Do what you do, you. But where I have a problem with is people that know that they can't be with one person and choose to get married, choose to get into this relationship. Because then you make good marriages like mine, marriages like your parents, you know, and you put a bad rep on marriages, and then you have people out here thinking that all marriages are this way. If they know that you're cheating on your husband, if they know that you're cheating on your wife, people are going to think, oh, this is just how marriages are. Everybody's marriage is like that. And I'm here to tell you that everybody's marriage is not like that. You are only seeing what you're seeing.
Right. The title of marriage, or husband or wife, or the ring on your finger does not change the instinct that's in you. You can't just say, okay, I can't do it while I'm dating her. Right. I can't be faithful to her while I'm dating her. But man, once we get married, I know she's going to be the only one. No, if you couldn't do it then, you're not going to be able to do it now. Old coaches always tell you the way you practice is the way you play. Right. The way you live, but if your marriage date is February 14th, the way your mindset is February 13th, it's going to be the same February 15th. Yeah. It's not just going to change just because you have a ring.
And I just said that like on the last podcast, as far as like there's levels to relationships. You have to show that you can commit to this relationship before you get married, because that's a whole nother level of committing. And I think I said this before, like the Bible really says in there, I don't know where it's at, but maybe I can find it by the time I end this podcast, that marriage is honorable above all. Right. I have read that for myself. I didn't need my husband as a preacher. For those who don't know, he is a preacher. I didn't need him to tell me that. I didn't need his dad to tell me that. I didn't need my grandfather to tell me that, or any other preacher that I know. I read that for myself. And so that's where I have a problem with that, as far as people knowing that they can't commit and then deciding to get into this marriage and then disrespect the sanctity and the purity of it. I can't get with that. I wouldn't consider myself a judgmental person, but when it comes to marriage, I could be a little bit judgmental. I could be a little bit biased and just like because it doesn't have to be that way. Right. Ain't nobody holding no gun to your head saying you need to get married. Exactly. You're making this choice. So if you're making this choice, then you need to make the choice to respect your husband, respect your wife or your wife. Right. And
don't get married just off of appearance. Don't get married because you think it's going to look good. Because this is a whole nother person. The twain become one flesh. But at the end of the day, you are my spouse. You have feelings. Yeah. You're bringing somebody in and they don't have the same intentions. Like, how can you be equally yoked? Right. If I just want you to be a trophy wife, but you're really in love with me. Right. That's not equally yoked right there. That's trying to fit a triangle in a square peg.
Yeah, you definitely, you have to be conscious when you get married. You have to be conscious when you get married, and you have to respect it. If you're not ready, say you're not ready, and that's okay. Right. That's okay. I also think, when I think of why people don't strive for marriage, or why people, have a hard time or so against marriage too, is I feel like this happens when I always talk about people not skipping steps in your relationship because you need that foundation. I'm so big on the foundation because I know what it does for relationships. We have been through it. We have been sleeping in motels. We have had a tremendous amount of financial issues, and people older than us don't even get to that. Right. Or get through that. I'm sorry. So for us to be able to get through that is nothing. First of all, it's nothing but the Lord that brought us through that, to that and through that, and is keeping us to this very day. But you have to really truly understand that you have to have your foundation so you don't complicate matters. And where I'm going with that is, when you start a family too soon without building your relationship, you complicate your relationship. Right. So when you complicate your relationship and you're having all these issues, you're not going to be thinking about trying to work through these issues because you have other responsibilities to tend to. So now marriage doesn't become something that you strive for now because you're uninterested in this person. You don't see yourself going the distance with this person. Right.
And I think a lot of people are selfish. Selfishness really comes into play when you're talking about this. Right. A lot of people, they feel as if they have reached a certain level of success that they don't want to share with anybody else. They have obtained a certain financial status that they don't want to jeopardize, because at the end of the day, you might be financially savvy or have a stable financial foundation, but you might marry somebody that might be weak in that area. Right. And that jeopardizes everything you built, everything you've established because somebody else might be foolish.
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't willing to take that risk.
Yo, we know people in relationships now that are completely all about themselves.
Right.
Whatever benefit that they can get from this person, as long as they're looking good or looking picture perfect, then it's fine.
Right.
And you know, the things that you get married for, other than love, is not going to keep your marriage.
Right.
And even if it does keep your marriage, it's not going to keep it happy and healthy.
Right.
And I think that's the missing ingredient, that people, instead of just striving for marriage, you have to strive for a happy and healthy marriage.
Right.
That's what's going to make your marriage that solid rock. That's what's going to make your marriage different from other people's, is knowing that it's happy and that it's healthy.
Right.
And that's just that. You got to be willing to do the work. You got to be willing to fight for your relationship, and it really truly starts with your mindset. And I think I'm actually going to do a separate YouTube video on that, as far as talking about your mindset and helping people understand how it is important to keep your marriage.
Right.
Get you to marriage and keep your marriage.
And back to what you said about people like having children first, like the Bible puts everything in a certain order for a reason.
Right.
It's to benefit us. God in his foreknowledge, infinite foreknowledge, knows how things work.
Right.
And that's why the scripture says, man shall not live by bread alone, but every word that proceed out the mouth of God. When you try to mix your opinions, your thoughts in there with God's word, you're bound for failure.
Yeah.
God established this from the beginning, that man should first be married, then have children, and once you mess up that order, problems are bound to come in. Yeah. See, once people have children, before they realize that this is the person they really want to be with, you're bound for trouble.
Yeah.
Because it's like you always want to do things that are best for that child. You always have the child's best intentions at heart if you're a good parent.
Right.
But you don't want to put that child in a position where he's seeing abuse, physical abuse, and he's just in an environment that's not conducive to training a child in the way he should go.
Right.
And I always say that a valuable, a good, strong step parent is better than a deadbeat parent.
Right. Absolutely.
So, and then like people feel obligated to stay in a situation, even if it's a bad situation.
Right.
When a child gets involved.
Right.
Which will ultimately hurt the child's growth in the end.
Basically, it's going to complicate the relationship, and when your relationship is complicated, you're not striving for marriage.
Right.
And that's a hindrance, a reason why people don't strive for marriage. We did an episode actually on, it's called, I forget exactly the title, but it was in our earlier podcasting days, where we talked about living together before marriage, which I'm not opposed to that, because at the end of the day, I would rather you find out this is somebody that you don't want to be with than get married and then you end up in a divorce or something. Listen, figure that person out, get to that. You remember this because we talked about how the Bible never really says, but you talked about the temptation of it or whatever. Yeah, but yeah, so I'm not opposed to it. I think that at the end of the day, if you already having sex or whatnot, then you don't know, that's the sin right there. Right. Which I'm not, trust me, not judging at all with that. Just from talking about from a biblical standpoint, but you know, that just backs my point up to, if you're already doing it, then living together is right. I mean, it's nothing, you know. Right. But I believe in that, and but at the same time, it can be a hindrance, because if you are living with somebody, you got to make sure that you are always staying on top of your desired outcome, if marriage is your desired outcome. Now, this is only for people that desire marriage, because you can get wrapped up and lost in that and it not be something, because you're content, you're complacent with just living together, you're happy, you know, you're doing you, the other person is doing them, where you're losing sight of the goal is to be married.
Right.
So now it just becomes this routine of I'm coming home, I'm cooking Nate dinner,
right.
you know, you're rubbing my back,
right.
we're watching All American on
right.
Monday nights at 8 p.m. You know what I'm saying? So that can really pose an issue too.
Right, and that's why it always seems like the people that are in that situation are the people that either A, never get married, or maybe they've been together for 10 or 15 years before they get married. Exactly. And they always just say, well, we've been playing husband and wife all these years. What was the point? And
I know people that have, actually, my mom and stepdad lived together for, I want to say they were together well, at least 10 to 12 years before they actually got married.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
They live together and stuff like that. But like I said, that's okay. But you need to be having, if marriage is your ultimate goal, you need to be having that conversation with that person, or letting them know, like, listen, buddy.
Right.
Or listen, homegirl, we ain't just finna shack up.
Right.
And you reap all these husband or wife benefits that I'm giving you.
Right.
No, we're just living together for whatever particular reason of
right.
why you chose to live together. Maybe for financial reasons, maybe you have a family, whatever the case may be.
Right.
We're living together, but we are going to be striving towards something.
Right, because
we're going somewhere.
Then the question arises of why not?
Right.
Why do you not want to marry me?
Right.
If we've been together, living together, doing everything together for 10 years,
right.
and the only thing we don't have is the title,
right.
why do you not want to give me the title?
Right.
What's the reason?
Yeah, which is definitely something to think about. I know a lot of women, they don't necessarily always want to be married. I get that. You know, and I had this conversation with my great grandmother. She's like, every woman wants to be married. And I'm like, I don't know if I really necessarily agree with that. I feel like, do people want companionship? Yeah.
Right.
But I don't feel like every woman strives for marriage as their ultimate goal. And like I said earlier, that's fine.
Right.
We are more in this particular topic are speaking towards people that desire marriage.
Right.
And just trying to shed light on some reasons of why people don't strive for marriage anymore and why people may be so against it.
Like,
yeah.
Like Oprah Winfrey.
Right. Yes, exactly.
She's been with the same man for years, but refuses to get married.
Ain't studying marriage. Right. Which is if that's how you choose to operate your relationship, listen, don't let us tell you. If you're content with how you are moving in your relationship, then be content. But if you want marriage, express that, and you continue to express that. And if they get uncomfortable, then they are not for you. You know that you are wasting your time.
Right.
Apply the pressure.
Right.
And that's on Mary Had a Little Lamb. Jack and Jill Went Up the Hill. Right. What was the other one?
Bring it on in.
No, what was the other one?
Wait, Little Red Riding Hood.
Little Red, that's on Little Red Riding Hood. That's on Rapunzel. That's on all of that. Nah, but seriously, yeah. Y'all, listen. I'm fired up because I love relationships and I love to talk about them, and I really truly have a passion to get people going in the direction that they desire to go in. It's never shade or coming from a bad place. If you want a valuable relationship, I'm going to do my very best to give you the tools that God has given me and the wisdom that he bestowed upon me, Nate as well, to get you to that place. And sometimes that may be telling you what you want to hear. I was talking to my mom one day and she was like, dang, sometimes I be listening to you and I be in my feelings a little bit, like I need to but you know, which was a compliment, because I want you to get uncomfortable.
Right.
That's the only way that you're going to get to your desired outcome. Be uncomfortable so you can get to where you need to be.
That's true.
And that's what I do when I work with people. So if you want to talk to me one-on-one, please feel free to book a discovery call. If you want to get to know me a little bit better, follow me on Instagram at Love Inspiry, on TikTok at Love Inspiry, on Facebook at Love Inspiry. And like I said, Nate is a part of the team. So if you want to talk from a scriptural standpoint, listen, we are the ultimate team right here. He coming from scripture. I'm coming from thug thizzle. Nah, not really. But you know, if you want a more Christian understanding, I give a little bit, but I wasn't called by God to be no preacher. So make sure you hit us up again. Visit us at www.loveinspiry.com. Guys, thank you so much. You have any final words?
Stay tuned. We have really big things coming on the way.
Yes. so excited.
Like, subscribe, and share. Hit the notification bell. Do whatever you have to do, because we really, this is genuine love. We're not doing this to be famous. We're not doing this for money. We're doing this because the Lord has put us through a lot. And the Bible says, Jesus told Peter, when thou hast been converted, strengthen your brother. So when you go through things in life, you got to look back towards the people that are going through what the Lord brought you out of. And if you have an encouraging word for somebody else, you should share it.
You better give it.
And that's what we're doing here. So.
God will whoop you if you don't. If you know you're supposed to be doing something, He will whoop you. So,
so help us get this message out to the people.
Yes. Thank you guys so much again. Again, if you're listening on the podcast, check us out on Instagram and Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, like you said, hit that like button. Give us a comment. We would love to hear from you and your opinions. Y'all have a blessed evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
God bless.
You said you don't feel prepared?
I'm good.
Oh, that's something you know.
You gotta be all rough.
It's dry skin. It's dry skin. That ain't gonna work. Oh, it did.
I told you.
Give me the tissue.
I've been picking my nose for you wrong. Wait.
We get what you were saying. Alright, let's. Babe, did you?
So it's like. Man, I'm going somewhere with that.
Yeah. Why was you cheesing the whole time like that?
Look mean.
Then also, I said it, you missed it. You just jumped right into the selfish. You missed it.
Because I printed this. This was supposed to come in. I had typed it wrong. That was supposed to be the last thing, because you can see it's Angie twice. So I was supposed to incorporate that in there right after.
Well, you could just add. It says piggyback on what you say about children, because I already said it. It don't make no sense to me. Alright, let's back up. Alright, remember to look at me. Engage with me, okay? Engage with me. Alright, hold on, I should open it. Hey guys, what's up, and welcome to Love Inspiry, space on the internet.